And a good afternoon or good evening to all of you bookworms. The Chattering Magpie is here. We are so excited.
She is very late because she couldn't figure out her computer stuff.
We are so excited to be here. A little bit late. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. But better late than never. It was either an hour late or
I'm sorry, Magpie, but I'm so sorry, Magpie, but someone was pointing out to me that I hadn't been mischievous lately, so I figured I needed to remedy this.
I dare not even ask who it was. But just happy that you're all here. And I don't know if it's because we pushed it a little bit forward, we pushed it back a bit. But I'm just happy to see Akihana and Crusher here. Hey guys, how are you?
This is a perfect time for me.
Awesome. We'll keep that in mind.
Long time no see.
Yes, and you even get to read. Akihana, you should have made it
I just finished my breakfast with script.
Well, good morning to you, sleepyhead. Happy that you're here, and unfortunately, I don't have any rules to give you, but I always enjoy just having you here in the chat, and also reading your comments is super fun. What's up?
I gave her Flora Jane.
Okay, cool. So everybody gets to participate. Okay, my notes are a mess, you guys.
Yay! Participation!
All right, children. I am so happy that you guys are being.
What color is Flora Jane though?
Baby blue.
All right.
Baby blue. She's baby blue.
So I'm gonna go say hello to the people over on the YouTube, the early gang.
Hi, chat.
Let's see, who do we have here? We have Yukihime, who was here. Unfortunately, though, she is Europe gang, and this is a very, very late time for her, so she had to bounce, unfortunately, especially since I had to push it back an hour. So Yukihime, if you're listening to this on replay, we miss you, and we hope that you can join us next time. And but thank you for saying hi on the chat. Let's see.
It was a conspiracy.
Let's see.
It was a conspiracy, Yukihime.
This time, she says. Well, we're gonna see what Anne is up to. Mostly right now, the novel is going a little slower, or quite a bit slower than the anime. The anime, I think the last one covered up to chapter 12, I believe, right? I think it did go up to chapter 12.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, so we are trailing, but we were never meant to continue at the pace of the anime, because the anime is going to cover three books: Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, and Anne of the Island. So there was no way we were going to cover 5 or 7 chapters at a time. There was no way. So this is good.
You could do it.
All right, I'm sure you can do it. Let me know when you're able to do it, okay? And I will give you a medal. All right, so we also have Teal. Oh my goodness, Teal, you have all these comments. Just showing your inner Anne. Says, "Oh, I am in the most ecstatically euphoric state of..." You know what, Teal? You're doing Anne today.
Will I read it?
Why don't you do a little warm up here with your comment? By all means, go ahead.
Okay.
Is she being a comedian?
Yes. Don't interrupt.
Maybe.
You.
Mischievous.
All right, let her read
here
the
I go.
comment. Yes.
Oh, I'm in the most ecstatically euphoric state of mind today. The world is simply resplendent with possibilities, as if the very air is infused with poetic inspiration and serendipitous wonder. My heart feels as though it's positively pulsating with an irrepressible exuberance that borders on the sublime. If joy were a color, I'd be painted in the most effulgent cerulean, shimmering with radiant elation and infinite imaginative exuberance. It's one of these days where existence itself feels like an exquisite soliloquy.
Whoa, bravo!
Very
Dang.
good. Bravo.
Bravo!
That is amazing. Teal. Wow. You are a disciple of Ellen Tura, indeed. Look Look at you.
I tried. I just couldn't match up.
Did you also
It's
try?
fine.
It was a valiant effort, Crusher. It was valiant.
Crusher, you also did something. Crusher, do share with us. Do read it. It's amazing. I like it.
It's pretty simple. It's like, oh, kindred spirits, what a rapturous delight it is to greet you on this splendid occasion. If only the world could be draped in the glory of cherry blossoms and poetic musings at all times.
Wow, you guys are inspired. Bravo, Crusher. I could
I
never.
couldn't do the whole 3-part thing, though. That's too much for me.
It kind of was for me as well, but
Well, you guys have outdone
I'm too lazy
yourselves.
to do those stuff.
A simple good
if-
morning from Akihana. We are happy to have it. Thank you, Akihana. What's up, Patrick?
If everybody enjoys that, then I would suggest you like and subscribe and follow your magpie.
Here, guys.
I highly suggest you support her through Ko-fi or by joining us as a channel member.
Yes, become a channel member. Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, we're no longer doing Ko-fis. You can buy me a Ko-fi if you want, but we no longer do memberships through Ko-fi. Right now, if you want to become a member, you can do so by joining the YouTube channel, or you could also do like one-time donations via super chats or whatever in the chat. So up to you. You could just engage with the video, and that is plenty for me. Or watch the ads. You can also do that. All right. But yes, thank you, Patrick. Also, you guys, he is not a paid. I did not tell him at any time, Patrick. It is your turn.
Something's wrong here because
No.
I pay to be a member on this channel, and yet I'm the one shilling it.
Yeah. I don't know what magicry and wizardries, what sorcery is happening, because I did not do nothing.
I think I need to renegotiate my contract.
what are you currently being
What
paid? Oh, negative $5 a month.
Okay.
Anything multiplied by zero is still zero.
I am the worst at negotiating.
Well, join the club because I also struggle. So please, please be kind to each other and to me.
Kind of funny story. I was in the Navy and we made port in Dubai, and there's this marketplace called the Golden Souk. So Golden Souk is famous for you go there, you see something you like, and you haggle instead of just paying what they say the price is. Well, I know I am very bad at negotiations, which we just went over this here. So I have some Filipino friends, and they are very good at haggling. So I'm like, please, come and help me. I don't know how to haggle. They got me some very good friends. They got me some very good deals.
Speaking of haggling, it happens on a daily basis here in the Philippines. Take for example, I just want to go to this, let's say a shopping mall near my place. Like, it's some distance, but I could walk it. Like if it wasn't too hot, or if I'm not carrying anything heavy, I would sometimes haggle with the tricycle driver. I tell them my destination, and they give me a price like 100, and I would say, no, that's way too much, 70. And if they don't want, I just walk away. But then others would suddenly shout, other tricycle drivers would shout, okay, come, you take my ride,
Hey, I mean, if it's in the culture, it's good. But okay, so my mom, she loves going to like flea markets and all kinds of like open air things. So swap meets and stuff, and she knows people like sellers that she can haggle with. And here's this situation that she does, you guys. She takes change, you guys, and she is everybody's worst nightmare. So she uses the fact she pays with like $5 worth of dimes and $1 worth of nickels and stuff like that. And somehow, like, I don't know how she does it, but because they see so much change, they're just like, whatever, like, just I mean, she doesn't cheat them and give them like 90 cents when she should be giving like 10. You know what I mean. But just the fact that she's counting it out, and they just get impatient. So I don't know if that's a haggling or a negotiating or a torture tactic, but it works.
It's definitely that last one.
It's more like a torture
It's a power move.
It is rather. So I every time, like, I don't like going with her, and when she starts getting into like a haggling situation, I'm just like, I'll see you in the next row. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'll see you there. So yeah, because to me it's like, please no, please. Again, she's like, what are you doing paying full price? Like, you should just haggle. I'm like, no, mom, I'll just pay the people. So both of us are Mexican, but I just didn't quite get into the whole negociar technique. All right, so so let's get started, you guys. Today we're going to be reading Crusher says the trick to negotiation is to ID what both parties want and use various tricks to steer the combo to your convenience. I do it all the time in here. Oh, okay. I see.
Thank you for that tip. Haggler there.
Thank you for the tip, Crusher. All right. So we're going to be reading today 2 chapters, I believe, if based on the previous readings we've done 2 a reading. So today we're going to be reading chapter 5 and 6. Basically, just a TLDR of what's been happening. Anne, an orphan, was sent to a brother and a sister, an elderly brother and a sister, by mistake. They were expecting, like a 10 to 12-year-old boy to help them in the farm. And instead they got sent with this chatterbox of a red-headed girl who is, she's imaginative, she's just a delight. Like the brother, Matthew Cuthbert, he's an elderly man, he's very shy. He took a liking to Anne, and he's like, I don't want to keep her, I don't want to return her, can we keep her? His sister, Marilla, is more resistant to the idea. And she's like, nope, we're going to get to the bottom of the situation. I'm going to take her to the lady that brought her to us and see what happened here. How did this mistake come about? And of course wants to remain with them.
Marilla is very utilitarian.
She is. She's a little bit more pragmatic and, very rigid in some ways. But we'll see. Maybe
just see my big word and turn it right back around on me. I see how it is.
Huh? Oh. No competition. What? Look, I have to try a little. Look at what Teal did up there, and then Crusher did. Like, dude. All right. So yes, we're all here for the what do they call them? $10 words, or what was it? I forgot what they call them. They used to call them like big words. They used to call them something. Anyway, we're here for the thesauruses. Okay, little thesauruses. Let's get reading. Chapter 5, and today reading will be the following, folks. Anne is going to be read by Teal. Marilla is going to be read by Little Purple Butterfly. Mrs. Spencer will be read by Crusher. Flora Jane is going to be read by Akihana. Mrs. Blewett is going to be read by Hirami. And Matthew is going to be read by Patrick. Awesome. Thank you, gang. And also, again, thank you to both Hirami and Teal who made the highlighting possible. I hope you guys enjoy it. So, let's do this, everybody. Chapter 5, Anne's History.
Do you know,
said Anne confidentially,
I've made up my mind to enjoy this drive. It's been my experience that you can nearly always enjoy things if you make up your mind firmly that you will. Of course, you must make it up firmly. I'm not going to think about going back to the asylum while we're having our drive. I'm just going to think about the drive. Oh, look! There's one early little wild rose out. Isn't it lovely? Don't you think it must be glad to be a rose? Wouldn't it be nice if roses could talk? I'm sure they could tell us such lovely things. And isn't pink the most bewitching color in the world? I love it, but I can't wear it. Red-headed people can't wear pink, not even in imagination. Did you ever know of anybody whose hair was red when she was young, but got to be another color when she grew up?
No, I don't know as I ever did.
Said Marilla mercilessly.
And I shouldn't think it likely to happen in your case either.
Anne sighed.
Well, there is another hope gone. My life is a perfect graveyard of buried hopes. That's a sentence I read in a book once, and I say it over to comfort myself whenever I'm disappointed in anything.
I don't see where the comforting comes in myself,
said Marilla.
Why, because it sounds so nice and romantic, just as if I were a heroine in a book, you know? I'm so fond of romantic things, and a graveyard full of buried hopes is about as romantic a thing as one can imagine, isn't it? I'm rather glad I have one. Are we going across the Lake of Shining Waters today?
We're not going over Barry's Pond, if that's what you meant by your Lake of Shining Waters. We're going by the shore road.
Shore Road sounds nice,
said Anne dreamily.
Is it as nice as it sounds? Just when you said Shore Road, I saw it in a picture in my mind, as quick as that. And White Sands is a pretty name, too, but I don't like it as well as Avonlea. Avonlea is a lovely name. It just sounds like music. How far is it to White Sands?
It's 5 miles, and as you're evidently bent on talking, you might as well talk to some purpose by telling me what you know about yourself.
Oh, what I know about myself isn't really worth telling,
said Anne eagerly.
If you'll only let me tell you what I imagine about myself, you'll think it ever so much more interesting.
No, I don't want any of your imaginings. Just you stick to the bald fact being the beginning. Where were you born and how old are you?
I was 11 last March,
said Anne, resigning herself to bald facts with a little sigh.
And I was born in Bolingbroke, Nova Scotia. My father's name was Walter Shirley, and he was a teacher in the Bolingbroke High School. My mother's name was Bertha Shirley. Aren't Walter and Bertha lovely names? I'm so glad my parents had nice names. It would be a real disgrace to have a father named, well, say Jedediah, wouldn't it?
I guess it doesn't matter what a person's name is as long as he behaves himself,
said Marilla, feeling herself called upon to inculcate a good and useful moral.
Well, I don't know.
Anne looked thoughtful.
I read in a book once that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but I've never been able to believe it. I don't believe a wild rose would be as nice if it was called a thistle or a skunk cabbage. I suppose my father could have been a good man, even if he had been called Jedediah, but I'm sure it would have been a cross. Well, my mother was a teacher in the high school too, but when she married father, she gave up teaching, of course. A husband was enough responsibility. Mrs. Thomas said they were a pair of babies and as poor as church mice. They went to live in a weeny-teeny little yellow house in Bolingbroke. I've never seen that house, but I've imagined it thousands of times. I think it must have had honeysuckle over the parlor window, and lilacs in the front yard, and lilies of the valley just inside the gate. Yes, and muslin curtains in all the windows. Muslin curtains give a house such an air. I was born in that house. Mrs. Thomas said I was the homeliest baby she ever saw. I was so scrawny and tiny and nothing but eyes, but that mother thought I was perfectly beautiful. I should think a mother would be a better judge than a poor woman who came in to scrub, wouldn't you? I'm glad she was satisfied with me anyhow. I'd feel so sad if I thought it was a disappointment to her, 'cause she didn't live very long after that, you see. She died of fever when I was just 3 months old. I do wish she'd lived long enough for me to remember calling her mother. I think it would be so sweet to say mother, don't you? And father died 4 days afterward from fever, too. That left me an orphan, and folks were at their wits' end. So Mrs. Thomas said, what to do with me? You see, nobody wanted me even then. It seems to be my fate. Father and mother had both come from places far away, and it was well known they hadn't any relatives living. Finally, Mrs. Thomas said she'd take me, though she was poor and had a drunken husband. She brought me up by hand. Do you know if there's anything in being brought up by hand that ought to make people who are brought up that way better than other people? Because whenever I was naughty, Mrs. Thomas would ask me how I could be such a bad girl when she had brought me up by hand, reproachful-like. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas moved away from Bolingbroke to Marysville, and I lived with them until I was 8 years old. I helped look after the Thomas children. There were 4 of them younger than me, and I can tell you they took a lot of looking after. Then Mr. Thomas was killed, falling under a train, and his mother offered to take Mrs. Thomas and the children, but she didn't want me. Mrs. Thomas was at her wit's end, so she said, what to do with me? Then Mrs. Hammond, from up the river, came down and said she'd take me, seeing as I was handy with children, and I went up the river to live with her in a little clearing among the stumps. It was a very lonesome place. I'm sure I could never have lived there if I hadn't an imagination. Mrs. Hammond worked with a little sawmill up there, and Mrs. Hammond had 8 children. She had twins 3 times. I like babies in moderation, but twins 3 times in succession is too much. I told Mrs. Hammond so firmly when the last pair came. I used to get so dreadfully tired carrying them about. I lived up the river with Mrs. Hammond over 2 years, and then Mr. Hammond died, and Mrs. Hammond broke up housekeeping. She divided her children among her relatives and went to the States. I had to go to the asylum at Hopeton, 'cause nobody would take me. They didn't want me at the asylum either. They said they were overcrowded as it was. But they had to take me, and I was there 4 months until Mrs. Spencer came.
And finished up with another sigh. Of relief this time. Evidently, she did not like talking about her experiences in a world that had not wanted her.
Did you ever go to school?
Demanded Marilla, turning the sorrel mare down the shore road.
Not a great deal. I went a little the last year I stayed with Mrs. Thomas. When I went up the river, we were so far from a school that I couldn't walk it in winter, and there was a vacation in summer, so I could only go in the spring and fall. But of course, I went while I was at the asylum. I can read pretty well, and I know ever so many pieces of poetry off by heart. The Battle of Hohenlinden, and Edinburgh after Flodden, and Bingen on the Rhine, and lots of The Lady of the Lake and most of the Seasons by James Thompson. Don't you just love poetry that gives you a crinkly feeling up and down your back? There's a piece in the 5th Reader, The Downfall of Poland, that is just full of thrills. Of course, I wasn't in the 5th Reader. I was only in the 4th. But the big girls used to lend me theirs to read.
Were those women, Mrs. Thompson and Mrs. Hammond, good to you?
Asked Marilla, looking at Anne out of the corner of her eye.
Oh,
Faltered Anne. Her sensitive little face suddenly flushed scarlet, and embarrassment sat on her brow.
Oh, they meant to be. I know they meant to be just as good and kind as possible. And when people mean to be good to you, you don't mind very much when they're not quite, always. They had a good deal to worry them, you know. It's very trying to have a drunken husband, you see, and it must be very trying to have twins 3 times in succession, don't you think? But I feel sure they meant to be good to me.
Marilla asked no more questions. Anne gave herself up to a silent rapture over the shore road, and Marilla guided the sorrel abstractedly while she pondered deeply. Pity was suddenly stirring in her heart for the child. What a starved, unloved life she had had, a life of drudgery and poverty and neglect. For Marilla was shrewd enough to read between the lines of Anne's history and divine the truth. No wonder she'd been so delighted at the prospect of a real home. It was a pity she had to be sent back. What if she, Marilla, should indulge Matthew's unaccountable whim and let her stay? He was set on it, and the child seemed a nice, teachable little thing.
She's got too much to say.
Thought Marilla.
But she might be trained out of that. And there is nothing rude or slangy in
what
sorry,
she does say.
Yeah, my phone jumped on me, so in what she does say, she's likely isn't she is ladylike. Isn't likely her people were nice folks.
The shore road was woodsy and wild and lonesome. On the right hand, scrub firs, their spirits quite unbroken by long years of tussle with the gulf winds, grew thickly. On the left were the steep red sandstone cliffs, so near the track in places that a mare of less steadiness than the sorrel might have tried the nerves of the people behind her. Down at the base of the cliffs were heaps of surf-worn rocks or little sandy coves inlaid with pebbles as with ocean jewels. Beyond lay the sea, shimmering and blue, and over it soared the gulls, their pinions flashing silvery in the sunlight.
Isn't the sea wonderful?
Said Anne, rousing from a long, wide-eyed silence.
Once, when I lived in Marysville, Mr. Thomas hired an express wagon and took us all to spend the day at the shore 10 miles away. I enjoyed every moment of that day, even if I had to look after the children all the time. I lived it over in happy dreams for years. But this shore is nicer than the Marysville shore. Aren't those gulls splendid? Would you like to be a gull? I think I would. That is, if I couldn't be a human girl. Don't you think it would be nice to wake up at sunrise and swoop down over the water and away out over that lovely blue all day? And then at night, to fly back to one's nest? Oh, I can just imagine myself doing it. What big house is that just ahead, please?
That is the White Sands Hotel. Mr. Kirk runs it, but the season hasn't begun yet. There are heaps of Americans come here for the summer. They think the shore is just about right.
I was afraid it might be Mrs. Spencer's place.
Said Anne mournfully.
I don't want to get there. Somehow, it will seem like the end of everything.
Chapter 6. Marilla makes up her mind. Get there they did, however, in due season. Mrs. Spencer lived in a big yellow house at White Sands Cove, and she came to the door with surprise and welcome mingled on her benevolent face.
Dear,
She exclaimed.
you're the last folks I was looking for. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But I'm real glad to see you. You'll put your horse in? And how are you, Anne?
I'm as well as can be expected, thank you.
said Anne smilelessly. A blight seemed to have descended on her.
I suppose we'll stay a little while to rest the mare.
Said Marilla.
But I promised Matthew I'd be back early. The fact is, Mrs. Spencer, there has been a queer mistake somewhere, and I've come over to see where it is. We sent word, Matthew and I, for you to bring us a boy from the asylum. We told your brother Robert to tell you we wanted a boy 10 or 11 years old.
Marilla Cuthbert, you don't say so,
said Mrs. Spencer in distress.
Why, Robert sent word down by his daughter Nancy, and she said you wanted a girl, didn't she, Flora Jane?
Appealing to her daughter, who had come out to the steps.
She certainly did, Miss Cuthbert.
Corroborated Flora Jane earnestly.
I'm dreadful sorry,
said Mrs. Spencer.
It's too bad, but it certainly wasn't my fault. You see, Miss Cuthbert, I did the best I could, and I thought I was following your instructions. Nancy is a terrible flighty thing. I've often had to scold her well for her heedlessness.
It's our fault. It was our own fault.
Said Marilla resignedly.
We should have come to you ourselves and not left the important message to be passed along by word of mouth in that fashion. Anyhow, the mistake has been made, and the only thing to do now is to set it right. Can we send the child back to the asylum? I suppose they'll take her back, won't they?
I suppose so,
said Mrs. Spencer thoughtfully.
But I don't think it would be necessary to send her back. Mrs. Peter Blewett was up here yesterday, and she was saying to me how much she wished she'd sent by me for a little girl to help her. Mrs. Peter has a large family, you know, and she finds it hard to get help. Anne will be the very girl for her. I call it positively providential.
Marilla did not look as if she thought Providence had much to do with the matter. Here was an unexpectedly good chance to get this unwelcome orphan off her hands, and she did not even feel grateful for it. She knew Mrs. Peter Blewett only by sight, as a small, shrewish-faced woman without an ounce of superfluous flesh on her bones. But she had heard of her. A terrible worker and driver, said Mrs. Peter was said to be, and discharged servant girls told fearsome tales of her temper and stinginess, and her family of pert, quarrelsome children. Marilla felt a qualm of conscience at the thought of handing Anne over to her tender mercies.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'll go in and we'll take the
We'll talk the matter.
Talk the matter.
She said.
And if there isn't Mrs. Peter coming up the lane this blessed minute.
exclaimed Mrs. Spencer, bustling her guests through the hall into the parlor, where a deadly chill struck on them as if the air had been strained so long through the dark green, closely drawn blinds that it had lost every particle of warmth it had ever possessed.
That is real lucky, for we can settle the matter right away. Take the armchair, Miss Cuthbert. Anne, you sit here on the ottoman and don't wriggle. Let me take your hats. Flora, Jane, go out and put the kettle on. Good afternoon, Mrs. Blewett. Blewett. We were just saying how fortunate it was for you, it was you happening along. Let me introduce you two ladies. Mrs. Blewett, Miss Cuthbert, please excuse me for just a moment. I forgot to tell Flora Jane to take the buns out of the oven.
Mrs. Spencer whisked away after pulling up the blinds. Anne, sitting mutely on the ottoman, with her hands clasped tightly in her lap, stared at Mrs. Blewett as one fascinated. Was she to be given into the keeping of this sharp-faced, sharp-eyed woman? She felt a lump coming up in her throat, and her eyes smarted painfully. She was beginning to be afraid she couldn't keep the tears back when Mrs. Spencer returned, flushed and beaming, quite capable of taking any and every difficulty, physical, mental, or spiritual, into consideration and settling it out of hand.
It seems there's been a mistake about this little girl, Mrs. Blewett,
she said.
I was under the impression that Mr. and Mrs. Cuthbert wanted a little girl to adopt. I was certainly told so. But it seems it was a boy they wanted, so if you're still of the same mind you were yesterday, I think she'll be just the thing for you.
Mrs. Blewett darted her eyes over Anne from head to foot.
How old are you, and what's your name?
She demanded.
Anne Shirley.
Faltered the shrinking child, not daring to make any stipulations regarding the spelling thereof.
And I'm 11 years old.
You don't look as if there's much to you. But you're wary. I don't know about the wary ones are the best after all. Well, if I take you, you have to be a good girl, you know. Good and smart and respectful. I expect you to earn your keep, and no mistake about that. Yes, I suppose I might as well take her off your hands, Miss Cuthbert. The baby's off of interest, and I'm clean worn out attending to him. If you like, I can take her right home now.
Marilla looked at Anne and softened at the sight of the child's pale face with its look of mute misery. The misery of a helpless little creature who finds itself once more caught in the trap from which it had escaped. Marilla felt an uncomfortable conviction that, if she denied the appeal of that look, it would haunt her to her dying day. Moreover, she did not fancy Mrs. Blewett. To hand a sensitive, high-strung child over to such a woman. No, she could not take the responsibility of doing that.
Well, I don't know.
She said slowly.
I didn't say that Matthew and I hadn't absolutely decided that we wouldn't keep her. In fact, I may say that Matthew is disposed to keep her. I just came over to find out where the mistake had occurred. I think I'll better take her home again and talk it over with Matthew. I feel that I ought to decide on anything without consulting him. If we make our mind not to keep her, we'll bring or send her over to you tomorrow night. If we don't, you may know that she is going to stay with us. Well, will that suit you, Mrs. Blewett?
I suppose it will have to.
said Mrs. Blewett ungraciously. During Marilla's speech, a sunrise had been dawning on Anne's face. First, the look of despair faded out. Then came a faint flush of hope. Her eyes grew deep and bright as morning stars. The child was quite transfigured, and a moment later, when Mrs. Spencer and Mrs. Blewett went out in quest of a recipe the latter had come to borrow, she sprang up and flew across the room to Marilla.
Oh, Miss Cuthbert, did you really say that perhaps you would let me stay at Green Gables?
She said in a breathless whisper, as if speaking aloud might shatter the glorious possibility.
Did you really say it? Or did I only imagine that you did?
I think you better learn to control that imagination of yours, Anne. If you can't distinguish between that, what is real and what isn't,
said Marilla crossly.
yes, you did hear me say just that and no more. Isn't decided yet, and perhaps we will conclude to let Mrs. Blewett take you after all. She certainly needs you more than I do.
I'd rather go back to the asylum than go live with her,
said Anne passionately.
She looks exactly like a gimlet.
Marilla smothered a smile under the conviction that Anne must be reproved for such a speech.
A little girl like you should be ashamed of talking about a lady and a stranger,
she said severely.
Go back and sit down quickly and hold your tongue and behave as a good little good Earl should.
I'll try to do and be anything you want me, if only you'll keep me,
said Anne, returning meekly to her ottoman. When they arrived back at Green Gables that evening, Matthew met them in the lane. Marilla, from afar, had noted him prowling along it and guessed his motive. She was prepared for the relief she read in his face when he saw that she had at least brought Anne back with her, but she said nothing to him relative to the affair until they were both out in the yard behind the barn milking the cows. Then she briefly told him Anne's history and the result of the interview with Mrs. Spencer.
I wouldn't give a dog I like to Miss Blewett one.
Said Matthew with unusual
Yeah, I
vim.
kind of fucked that one up.
Ooh, okay.
To that Blewett woman. Said Matthew with unusual vim.
I didn't fancy her style myself,
admitted Marilla.
But it's that or keeping her ourselves, Matthew. And since you seem to want her, I suppose I'm willing to have to be. I've been thinking over the idea until I've gotten kind of used to it. It seems a sure of duty. I've never brought up a child, especially a girl, and I dare say I'll make a terrible mess of it. But I'll do my best so far as you can. I'm concerned, Matthew. She may stay.
Matthew's shy face was a glow of delight.
Well, now, I reckoned you'd come to see it in that light, Marilla.
He said.
She's such an interesting little thing.
I'd be more to the point if you could say she was a useful little thing.
Retorted Marilla.
But I'll make it my business to see she's trained to be that. And mind, Matthew, you're not to go interfering with my methods. Perhaps an old maid doesn't know much about bringing up a child, but I guess she knows more than an old bachelor. So you just leave me the managing her. When I fall, it'll be time enough to put your oar in.
There, Marilla. You can have your own way.
Said Matthew reassuringly.
Only be as good and kind to her as you can without spoiling her. I kind of think she's one of the sort you can do anything with if you only get her to love you.
Marilla sniffed to express her contempt for Matthew's opinions concerning anything feminine and walked off to the dairy with the pails.
I won't tell her tonight that she can stay.
She reflected as she strained the milk into the creamers.
She'd be so excited that she won't sleep a wink. Marilla Cuthbert, you're fairly in for it. Did you ever suppose you'd see the day when you'd be adopting an orphan girl? It's surprising enough, but not so surprising as that Matthew should be at the bottom of it. Him, that always seemed to have such a mortal dread of little girls. Anyhow, we've decided on the experiment, and goodness only knows that will come of it.
End of chapter. All right. Thank you, everybody. That was a fun chapter to read. By the way, I want to say, Crusher, you absolutely nailed that, Mrs. Spencer.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising. You did good, man.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, guys.
It got me snickering at the start, but hey, he was good.
Yeah, it surprised me. It wasn't a laugh of like, oh, like mocking. It's like, it's like good. I like it when people read with gusto. Okay. I would much rather have people do it with enthusiasm and energy rather than do it perfectly. So I love it. Crusher, excellent job.
Thank you, you guys.
Maybe we should have the read-alongs later so that Crusher can join us more often. And maybe even Akihana.
By the way, what time frame is this book series supposed to take place in?
I think the 1800s.
Yeah, like late 1800s. So eventually the series ends during World War One or at the end of World War One. So it has to be like very late 1800s, maybe like 1880s.
Well, so since some people were wondering in the chat, what her parents died of, since they both died of fever, it could have been scarlet fever, since that was one of the most notable and deadly outbreaks for the virus between 1820 and 1880.
I'm getting Little Women vibes back. I can see it being scarlet fever. I mean, geez, how many people in literature have been taken by scarlet fever or cholera? So yeah, it makes sense.
Or bubonic plague.
Or the typhoid fever.
I was thinking, Velveteen Rabbit. The kid apparently had scarlet fever, and that's why the rabbit had to be thrown away.
Yeah, so, thank goodness for modern medicine, you guys, and, making it so that kids don't have to die. Like, so tragic that, I'm sure this family would have been so loving and so lovely, loving Anne. But Anne was left to the world. Later on, they call her a waif of the universe. Or something like that, a waif of the world. I don't know, she uses like these strange words. I love it.
She is very good with her words. She's I like her.
If you like this, you should check out the Blue Castle, by the way. I'm trying to get people to read the Blue Castle. Please read the Blue Castle.
It's almost as if that's a book that you read on your other channel.
Indeed.
The Chattering Magpie Reads.
Yes.
Which everybody can go to and like and subscribe and all those things that I said earlier.
Yes. Good.
You were reading it. You were reading it around this time last year too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What happened to the chit chat?
What chit? Don't remind me of the chit chat. I messed it up again. Okay.
Chitty chat.
I know.
Oh my God,
okay.
Bruh.
So we did a Blue Castle chit chat, and I was like, you guys, I messed up the recording. Like that covers the last part of the story. We need to re-record. So we re-recorded, and that recording was still bad. I was like, oh my gosh. So
So the one that had my input as well?
yes,
Was that
all
also
of those.
butchered?
Yes. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Speaking of chit chats, I think we recorded a
I
chit
know.
chat for
I'm working on it. Part 5, Volume 8. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. We live in an
We
economy.
can't relent on her chat. We have to give her all kinds of crap.
We live in an economy, you guys, and I cannot quit my 9 to 9, okay? I can't quit. I would love to be able to quit altogether, but I have to, I can't. So I do edit and I do work on stuff as I can. So thank you for your patience. I will get to it, but the last chit chat we recorded, Part 5, Volume 8, was 9 hours long. So I'm still like 30% through with it. So it'll happen, okay? It'll happen. It's taking me a while.
You say that as if that's a bad thing. We had a lot of good things to say about the story.
Which I am going to leave for members who will be able to get the full 9-hour recording. But for
and how do people gain access to the member-only videos?
hit the join button below, and you will be able to get those videos. Maybe I should just upload those long versions for you who are very vocal, and you could just leave me alone. Maybe I should do that. I don't know.
Well, I'd say that the edited down make that available for everybody, and
Yes,
then if
yes,
you want to
that is the
listen to
plan.
the long form,
That is the plan.
members only.
That is the plan, except that I wanted to wait a little bit. I wanted to wait until I release the short one before I release the long one, the one for members. Anyway, by the way,
Let's get back to talking about this.
yes,
this story.
Crusher did ask, what is a gimlet? So, thank you, Teal, for the very thorough definition. Says a gimlet is a little screw tool to bore holes or a cocktail that's probably somewhat like a screwdriver, only with gin, vodka, and lime juice.
So she calls her Screwy.
Basically, let me show you a picture
So-
here. I looked it up. Here we go. These are
when
gimlets.
when I looked it up on my browser, it came up with a cocktail recipe.
Yeah, basically that's like the most common use of the word. Apparently.
It's what Don Draper drinks in Mad Men, apparently.
Well, I love trivia like that.
Oh, I know what those are. Okay.
All right. Also, Crusher, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, don't spend it all in one place and finish them. Stop it. Yes, I am very thankful for the reminder. Here's have some hearts. Fine. I will work hard. Anyway. Teal, 3 cheers for penicillin. Right? And polio vaccines and measles and tuberculosis treatments. By the way, there was it here or later? During Ella Montgomery's time, people were, even before, people were always dying of consumption, which is like tuberculosis. So, a lot of tragic early deaths due to all these illnesses. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Who else do we have here? Akihana points out, someone is being won over. This was around the time when Anne is saying her story and Marilla's driving her over to Mrs. Spencer's. What did you think of Anne's story, everybody? Anything that struck you?
Quite sad.
All right, so first Patrick and then Teal.
It makes me think of a lot of foster children. They suffer with that feeling of being unwanted, and I can understand it because, I mean, if your birth parents give you up for adoption, then yeah, you can probably rightly feel like no one wants you. Though in Anne's case, it's more, her parents died, not that they didn't want her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've met people who have gone through the system, and it's brutal, man. So, and like I think there's a little bit more oversight now than there was back then. I mean, think about the kind of administrative errors that led to this, and you just return the child or give the child to someplace else. Like, people could just fall through the cracks and you never hear of them again or hear of any abuse or anything here happening. So
I wouldn't say you never hear of any abuse here.
So
that's a discussion for another time.
But in that time, like, just notice how easily it was for them to just get a child, like tell somebody to get a child for you. Like, where's the paperwork? Where's the ID? Where's the background checks? All that stuff. Nothing.
Oh, for sure.
Apparently that didn't exist back then. It was all word of mouth.
Of course.
No paper trail at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a lot more easy for a Mrs. Blewett to get herself a little slave. Yes, I definitely recognize that.
Yeah. Oh, and so to me, it's a wonder that Anne, after surviving all of that, she's still this bright child. Teal, you wanted to say something earlier. Sorry, go ahead.
I think a lot of my thoughts were mirrored by what Patrick said, but it also reminds me of really early in Ascendance where mine has to like look after all those kids when she's supposed to be
Yes!
babysat herself.
Gerda! Oh yeah,
What was that? What was that daycare lady's name?
Gerda.
I think you said it. Greta. Yeah.
Gerda.
My goodness, that one was definitely not good.
Yeah, and I love it in the manga, how it's all depicted. Anne's shock, her disgust, just trying to do her job. Like this tiny little girl being the grown up in the room. Honestly, yeah, very very.
And Greta's
neglected.
just like, oh dear.
Oh dear.
dear.
Oh dear. Oh yeah. I love that. But yeah, thanks for reminding of that moment, Teal. I do love it when we can tie this story back to our favorite bookworm. So let's see. So I saw several of you pointing out, names. I mean, or not names, but words that they use, like fractious, Teal.
Yes, we are learning more useful terms.
Yeah, reading does help one's vocabulary, apparently.
What got me thinking was the fact that both of Anne's parents died from the fever, with just days between them. So it got me thinking if whether or not there was some kind of epidemic at that time, like maybe like what was mentioned earlier, the scarlet fever, bubonic plague, those kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I don't know if it was like an epidemic. I don't know. Somewhere while I was preparing for the first video of Anne, somewhere I read that her parents died of typhoid fever. So I don't know if this is revealed in a future book or whatever, when she learns a little bit more. I forget if this is the case or somebody just added that on. But I think there's a high probability that it was typhoid fever that her parents died from. So I don't know if that's contagious, like the way, say, scarlet fever would. But it's definitely like terrible way to go too. Crusher says on the chat, by the way, happy to see you, Fuji petals floating in the river. And Crusher says on the chat, Anne keeps getting unlucky with her guardians, but will her fate change now that she's been accepted into Green Gables? Find out more on the next Anne of Green Gables read along. That's right. So, Marilla has accepted the job of, bringing up, raising this little girl. What do you guys think? Based on what you've seen of Marilla, what do you think her parenting style will end up being?
Strict.
Well, we got a little taste of it.
Patrick and then Akihana.
Thank you. We got a little taste of it this time because when Anne made that comment about Miss Blewett being a gimlet, she had to restrain herself from laughing, which good on her, because kids say things that will make you laugh when you really should be like, no, you shouldn't say that.
Kids say the hardest thing.
They do.
I mean, she is a very strict, stern woman, and I think that would be good for Anne.
But is there something? Well, okay. Let me ask a question. Kihana, please.
Okay, I was just gonna say that I definitely see her as a very strict parental figure, a no nonsense kind of upbringing, but definitely not the Spartan kind of parenting. Because we did see from the first morning after Anne spent the first night there, thinking she would be returned, Marilla did tell Anne to go out and play. So I would say she would probably have a balanced parenting style. Teaching style more on the practical maybe.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, I think within the comparison of the other guardians she has had, I think that Marilla isn't going to be as much of a slave driver towards Anne.
Right. And that is important because all of those other women saw, like Mrs. Thomas raised her up, but immediately set her to take care of the kids. And then Mrs. Thomas, and then Mrs. Hammond, she specifically brought her to take care of the kids and help around. So she was kind of like the help. So Marilla is not seeing Anne as, yeah, she says it like it would be nice if she were a useful thing, but she's not really doing it because she wants to get use out of Anne, right? And that is important because Anne is still a child and she's gonna make mistakes. So I also don't see her being like a slave driver or like saying like you have to earn your keep like Mrs. Blewett also. So yeah, that fills my heart with comfort. Anything else about Marilla that you guys saw that you think will kind of points to her parenting style?
She also asked Anne whether she had gone to school or not, so education is important as well.
Right.
I love how she's telling Matthew to, you stay out of it. I'm gonna use my method, and don't you interfere.
She's like, yes, I know I am a spinster, an old maid, but I know I will do better than an old bachelor like you could. Neither of them have ever had kids or raised kids. So they're just gonna give it a go. Let's see what kind between their parenting, let's see what happens. But yeah, for the most part, Marilla is going to be the one that is going to help shape Anne's character going forward. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's some chapters, especially if you've seen the anime episode 2, you know what's gonna happen with regards to a certain neighbor, and that will definitely show us a little bit of Marilla and the trials of parenting a child like Anne. And I don't know. I kind of think though, I love talking about Marilla. I'm sorry, you guys. I think that Marilla is also like, she's like a foil to Anne, because everything that Anne is, sparkling, vivacious, young, full of childlike wonder, Marilla is not. But yet I think they're going to complement each other a lot and help each other out, Let's see. What about Matthew? I mean, I think, what kind of parenting style would Matthew have, you guys? If you were to be...
Probably more practical. Like, he would actually be more hands-on, teach her the basics of, how to do stuff around the farm or Green Gables.
Yeah.
Not really. He wouldn't really go into how to be socially acceptable, socially adept, but more like how to just get tasks done.
Okay, real life, real world experience. Yeah, for sure.
I'm
practical.
I'm thinking more along the lines of more permissive. Like, I'm. You know what? I'm not going to say because I'm probably going to give some spoilers, so
but
I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, permissive though is pretty clear.
I think Matthew. Ezra.
Yeah, he can't really teach her how to be like the proper little girl because, well, he's not a little girl.
For sure. Yeah.
I see him more like a grandfather figure to her rather than a father or an uncle
Mhm.
So, yeah, he's like a grandpa.
Aw.
He's headed over heels, bewitched with her.
He's basically a
I'd
shy
say-
Bonifacius. And somebody wanted to say something earlier.
Yeah, I was before I got interrupted by my sister. That is, I was just gonna add that I would say Matthew would probably be the carrot to Marilla's stick,
Mm.
because they seem to be. I find that the two of them, their tandem, would probably balance each other out when it comes to raising Anne, because Maria's got this strict, no nonsense attitude, but we can still see some semblance of a sense of humor in her as well,
Mm-hmm.
especially with how she reacted to Anne's comment about Mrs. Lewitt. And probably wouldn't count as a spoiler for those who've seen the anime, but also how she reacts to Anne's outburst toward a certain nosy neighbor.
Yeah, for real. So, and also we get like a lot of inner thoughts of Marilla. Like Marilla had to inculcate to the child something, even though she finds something that she says funny. She still knows that she has to take every opportunity to teach the child some moral lesson. So I also appreciate that the point of view gives us this little glimpses into Marilla. So we are able to see from a lot of characters' point of views, and that really is fun too. All right, you guys. So it is 6:12, and I do believe we should probably get this wrapped up. I was happy to see some folks drop in and say hello. Let's see, we got Fuji Petals floating in the river. I love that name, by the way. It's so poetic. Yes, yes. Also, White Rose was here. White Rose, I hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you next time. I think you already said goodbye, so I hope you enjoyed it. And let's see. And yes, of course, the gang here joining us. We started a little late, but I think it worked out. It might work out to our advantage if we start maybe an hour late. We'll see. Let me know in the comments if you're in the live. I'm okay. I can just do that because I would love to have Akihana and Crusher join us more regularly, of course.
Yeah, but no Yukihime.
Oh, that's true, Yukihime. Well, we'll see. Because also Yukihime can do our 1:00 Friday reads. So, I mean, I don't know. I want to include as many people as possible. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Today was just a situation that I had with technology. I had to uninstall and reinstall OBS, which is the thing that I do the lives from. It was a mess, and I was crying in my soul, not in reality.
I've definitely heard many content creator say some things not very friendly about OBS.
Well, the thing is, OBS is free, and there's a lot of tutorials out there that will basically help you do the things. So that helps. And I usually, once I learn something, I tend to stick with it because, So unless OBS breaks altogether or breaks my machine, I'll probably end up just continuing using it. Especially because of the price tag. I highly recommend it. The price tag of $0 cannot be beat. So yes, for all of you who are looking into going live on your own in your own channels, it's OBS.
Patrick.
it's
I mean, just call me out like that.
yeah, it's something you should look into. But don't ask me for tutorials on how to work it, because I had help. I literally had to be like, Fergie, how do I do this? I don't know if you guys remember the first couple of lives. They were rough. And I think
Speaking of Fergie, where is he?
Fergie, I hope you don't mind me telling the gang here. It's nothing embarrassing, but apparently, from what I learned, I was talking to Fergie, is that Canadians have been fed so much, Ellen Montgomery, Anne of Green Gables stuff growing up that they kind of get a little bit over it, kind of burnt out a bit. So probably our excitement for Anne of Green Gables is too much.
I'll go now. Bye.
All right,
Dude, if
bye
there's
bye.
anyone who could nail the Canadian accent, it would be him.
Well, of course.
Come on, Canuckians.
We would love to have any and all Canadians. I almost said we would love to have any of all join us. But I understand. Anyway, you guys. So we're going to be picking up the next chapters. I believe the next chapter is going to be, let me see, chapter 7, Answers Her Prayers. Oh, I love this chapter. It's so funny. And also chapter 8, Anne's bringing up is begun, shall be read. So we have a lot of Marilla and dialogues here coming up. So I enjoy them because you get a straight man to Marilla's, to Anne's craziness. So it's good to have that dynamic. Anyway, meanwhile, between now and Friday, hopefully I shall get the Anne of Green Gables episode to review. But if not, well, sorry. But I'll promise to get it soon enough. All right, peoples. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun. Today, the people that were responsible for bringing these chapters to life were the following. We had Teal reading Anne. By the way, Teal, good job on reading those long, long paragraphs. So good.
Thank you.
We also had Little Purple Butterfly read Marilla. We had Crusher crushing it with Mrs. Spencer. We had Akihana taking a brief line, but it was an important line. Flora Jane. We had Hirami read Mrs. Blewett. I love the nasal voice. Good job. That's a nice touch. And of course, Patrick reading Matthew. Thank you so much, you guys. And of course, to Hirami and Teal for highlighting. You guys are amazing. You're the best. I love you. And thank you to all of you who are supporting this channel. And to Crusher, who supported with a super chat. Love you all so much. We'll see you all on Friday for more read along. Goodbye, gang. Say bye-bye.
Goodbye, gang.
Bye.
See you later.